Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into this really beautiful story called The Well of Dayface. And it's all about this powerful universal struggle, right? It's about closing that gap between what we know up here in our heads and how we actually live our lives day to day. And this one question, this is really at the heart of the whole thing. It's asking us directly to take a hard look at our own lives. Is all that stuff we've learned just information, a collection of cool ideas? Or has it actually seeped in and become real, lived wisdom that shapes who we are and what we do? This is the question that kicks off a pretty profound inner journey. So our story starts with these three travelers, an uncle, his nephew, and their friend Roger. And they've gone to this place called Dayface. But this isn't a vacation, not at all. They're there for what they call a heart calibration. I love that phrase. They're basically on a mission to finally close that gap between what they say they believe and how they actually live. And the name of the place, Dayface, or Gündüz Yüzü in Turkish, is super important. It's not just some random location. It's more like a state of being. See, the people there are called daylight-faced. Why? Because they get up before sunrise, and this has given them this reputation for being really open, honest, and warm. It's the absolute perfect backdrop for a story about finding inner clarity, right? So as they're sitting down for their very first meal, all their anxieties start to bubble up. You can just feel it. The nephew's worried that all these big ideas are just going to end up as pretty words. Beautiful but empty sentences. And Roger, he's afraid of that classic inspiration high that wears off the second you get back to your normal life. I mean, haven't we all felt that? They're both wrestling with the same core problem. How do you make real change actually stick? And that's when the uncle steps in and totally reframes their whole quest with just one powerful statement. He basically says, look, the point here isn't to just pile up more information. No, it's about embodiment. It's about that knowledge becoming your actions, shaping the very way you walk through the world. And boom, that's the moment their search finds its direction, its true north. So, just as that idea is sinking in, the uncle has this sudden memory. He remembers a story he jotted down years ago, a testimony about something that happened right there, in Dayface. He thinks this old note might just hold the key to their whole problem. So he pulls out this paper, and on it is the title, The Young Man of Dayface. The story he starts to tell begins with this really simple but powerful image. An abandoned well. You can just picture it, right? Something that was once a source of life-giving water, but now it's just been left to fall apart. And it's actually worse than just being neglected. This well has literally become a garbage dump. The story says that for years, people who, quote, misread both thought and feeling have just been chucking their trash in there. So it's just filled with all this junk, discarded husks, fibers, just years of accumulated debris. Then a young man from Dayface shows up, and he sees this mess, but he doesn't complain, he doesn't throw his hands up in despair. His whole attitude just says, okay, the situation is what it is. What needs to be done is obvious. The task is simple, really. The well has to be cleaned. And just like that, he gets to work. Okay, so as the uncle is telling the story, the friends get it immediately. This isn't just about a well, is it? It's a metaphor. The story is like a mirror, and it's reflecting this process that needs to happen inside each of them and, inside all of us. So the friends pretty much decode the whole thing right there on the spot. The well, that's our inner world, our soul. The rubbish, that's all the junk we let pile up inside. Neglected feelings, tangled thoughts, all that emotional debris. And the young man, he's that core part of us, that spark of goodness that actually wants to do the hard work of cleaning up. And the clear water? Well, that's the goal, right? A purified self that can actually refresh and nourish the people around us. And Roger just nails it. He calls it system purification, but he points out that it's so much deeper than some kind of technical fix. Think about it. When the water in the well is finally clear, it doesn't just benefit the well itself, right? Anyone who drinks from it gets refreshed. And he says our inner self, our ego, is exactly the same. When a person purifies themselves, they end up nourishing everyone around them, not just their own self. So you see, this is way more than just a nice little parable. It's actually a practical guide. The way the young man goes about his work, it gives us a clear, step-by-step method for how we can take on this, let's be honest, pretty daunting task of cleaning our own inner world. In the process he follows is so clear and methodical. First step, he just acknowledges the mess for what it is. No blame, no complaining. Second, he climbs down into that difficult place with composure, hope, and determination.
Third, he starts removing the junk, one piece at a time. And finally, and this is a big one, he gets that the clear water isn't going to just appear overnight. It emerges gradually. You've got to have patience.
Now, as he's doing all this work, people start to challenge him. You can imagine it. They come up to him like, who do you think you are? But here's the thing. He doesn't argue. He doesn't get defensive. He refuses to be pulled into a fight. His response is so simple and so powerful. He just looks at them and greets them with peace. He completely transforms that fear and confrontation, not with more force, but with quiet gentleness. And that single response, that's where we find the final crucial lessons of the story. It's the way the young man carries himself. His humility, his quiet focus on the work, that's just as important as the act of cleaning the well. His wisdom isn't just in what he does, it's in how he does it. Later on, when people are so inspired they want to follow him, he just welcomes them into his simple home and says this absolutely remarkable thing. He says, I too am merely entrusted here, a guest. Wow, just think about that. He doesn't see his life or his home or even his wisdom as something he owns. It's all just a trust, a gift. And the uncle says, that one single sentence, that might just sum up their entire journey. And so the story leads us and the three friends with this final, really piercing thought. The young man of Dayface isn't some guy who lived a long time ago. He's a symbol. He represents that potential for virtue and clarity that exists inside every single one of us. He is that part of you that's looking at your own inner well and knows, yeah, it needs cleaning. So the only question left really is, when are you going to begin?